Hey guys, this is Jim Kurtz and with Harvest Harmonics, and today I want to share with you a really amazing opportunity that if you take advantage of this, you're going to be very, very happy. This is something that is one of those things that doesn't come along very often.
Hey
Every
guys,
now
this
and
is Jim
then
Kurtz
there
and
is
Harvest Harmonics. And if you
turn
take
my
advantage of
microphone
this,
off here. A little bit of crosstalk here. So, um, really just want to let you guys know if you take advantage of this opportunity, it's one of those things that every now and then in an industry, a technology or an innovation will come along that's going to completely transform that industry. You've seen it before with things like Apple revolutionizing the music industry with the iPod. They revolutionized the industry again with the iPhone. Um, Pixar revolutionized the movie industry with, with animated videos. Now you can see computer generated images and computer animated movies all the time. Every now and then you have an industry or an innovation that's going to transform that industry. And this particular innovation is no different. And the opportunity we have for you guys is unlike anything you've seen before, because you have the opportunity for a very limited time to be able to help us expand and also make a very good deal of money while helping farmers and helping people of Earth eat much healthier and be much happier. So I'm going to share with you guys this presentation. And I want you to pay attention to this, but I also want you to make sure you have any questions that you have. Save them up, write them down. I'm going to share with you toward the end of the presentation a way that you can get a hold of us and get your questions answered, how you get started, and all that good stuff. But right now, let's jump in for the future of farming. I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll get moving here. So again, we are Harvest Harmonics and Harvest Harmonics International. We have offices in several countries at the moment, and we're expanding very rapidly. In fact, by the end of 2020, we should expect to have pretty much the entire world, an office in every country. So I have a few targets here. I want to show you how farmers can start using this technology, how we're helping farmers increase their production by 20 to 30%, how we're helping farmers reduce pest and insect and disease, which debilitates their crops over time, how they can reduce chemical and fertilizer usage, which is damaging to the environment, as well as damaging um, to human health as we eat this product, and overall just make farming a much healthier, much more beneficial place to live. So our mission is to help farmers increase their production and grow healthier, better quality crops at a lower cost with higher yields without harming the environment. And farmers that we've talked to well over 1,200 farmers at this point, 1,260, I think, the last count. And farmers are always telling us they face the same challenges. Bad weather or fluctuating weather, bad weather conditions, rising cost of fertilizer and other inputs, pest control issues, and disease and pathogen control is always an issue. And these things reduce their ability to make a good living for their family. They reduce their ability to make a viable crop, and they also make it more difficult to grow healthy food for all of us. So how do we help them with this program? Well, we help them using a technology called Kiminasi Plant Booster. And I'm going to turn off my screen so we don't distract you here. And I'm going to focus on this. So the Gymnasi plant boosters you see on the left here is a device that it gets installed into a farmer's irrigation system. And on the left, on the left, you see a smaller device for small farmers or sometimes large gardens. And on the right, you see one of our devices installed onto a farmer's irrigation system for larger devices. Now, what is Kiminasi? Well, Kiminasi is a new advanced technology. It uses 3,000 distinct radio frequency waves and various combinations which target specific plant functions at the molecular level. Now, when a plant responds to these radio waves in a sequence, so that one set of radio waves prepares the plant for the next set, and it has kind of a cascading effect which improves the biological functions of plants. Now, if you want to have more information and want to see really in detail how this works, you can watch our explainer video. You can also watch our agricultural engineer, Brett Miller, discusses the science behind the technology and how this works and how it really works to benefit plant health. And then also there's another video here which describes how water is able to become a carrier for radio frequencies, which improve plant function. Now, what does the Kiminasi plant booster improve? Well, it's a non-chemical catalyst, and it really targets 7 main areas of plant biology. The first 6 here you see really targets photosynthesis and making photosynthesis super efficient. You have water and oxygen absorption, nitrogen absorption, light absorption, carbon dioxide absorption. All of these areas are designed to improve the efficiency of photosynthesis, which in turn allows the plant to grow healthier, to grow stronger, and produce more fruit. And the last point that we're still in the process of researching, but what we've noticed on several farms is that the Kiminasi plant booster improves soil fertility and the cation exchange of the soil that we've tested this on. Now, what we're doing in terms of the scientific background of this is we're helping to turn a C3 type of photosynthesis into a C4 and a CAM type of photosynthesis. And this has the effect of making the plants much more resilient to fluctuations of weather, pests, and various other problems. Um, but just to give you a quick overview of the history of the Kiminasi plant booster, the technology and the research began back in 1999. And it took the inventor of this technology, Mr. Fulvio Baumelli, about 15 years to develop his first prototype in 2014. Then he continued to refine and research the product for the next 4 years after that to develop a product that not only produced great results like the prototype did in 2014, but also was able to handle the large volume irrigation systems that commercial agriculture uses. And then the technology in 2019, last year, was increased again and produces results now 8 times more powerful and faster than it ever did before. We did some tests on a specific farm of various versions of the technology, like versions 4 and 5, over a 2-year, 24-month period. And what we noticed is in the first year, this farmer increased his overall production by 42.6%. And then the year after that, he increased his baseline production by 60% over the last 10 years previous to using the Kiminasi technology. And we did a 7 farm average study in the last 6 months. And what we've noticed is when we took the baseline average of the control groups versus the Kiminasi plant groups, we saw a 27% increase in yield over the control plots on these 7 different farms in just a 40-day span. So within really about a month, month and a half, we're seeing anywhere between 10, 20, 30% increases results, proven benefits here on the left. And on the right, you have some pending ones, the ones that we're seeing evidence of, but we're doing more research on. So on the proven side, we know that our technology increases yield. We know that it improves nutrient absorption. We know that it improves nutrient density of fruit. We've seen improvements in shelf life, improvements in cation exchange in the soil, improved disease and insect resistance, improvements in Brix rating and sweetness of fruit, and we've seen healthier, greener plants, which we'll show you some evidence of here in the next few slides. Some pending stuff, some things that we anticipate seeing that we've seen some evidence of is a decrease in water usage, a decrease in the usage of fertilizer and other inputs, and a reduced environmental damage because if you're using less chemicals, obviously you're going to have less environmental damage with that. A decrease in weed control costs and potentially extending plant life. So these are things that we're all seeing some initial evidence of, and as we get more results, we'll be able to confirm those as a consistent result. So let's look at some case studies here, some things that we've already seen with this Kiminasi plant booster. Back in 2015, we saw on a pepper field, this is the largest pepper grower in Panama. He got a 20 to 30% increase in size of his peppers, but he got a 70% increase in overall yield by weight. And he also noticed by picking some fruit and testing it that he got a 10 to 15-day increase in shelf life versus his control peppers. The next study was done here in our office. We had a side-by-side planters. And when we came back, we had to abandon the experiment for a week. When we came back after Hurricane Irma blew through and forced us to evacuate, 5 days later, we came back. We noticed that the Kiminasi planters had 0 insects, where the control planter right next to it had thousands of these little gnat-like insects. So we're seeing evidence of improved pest resistance. We also have a couple of our citrus growers here in Florida telling us that they're seeing less evidence of the psyllid insect that's causing a huge plague here in the Florida citrus industry. So we're really bolstered by those results, and we look forward to getting more results on pest resistance. The next one here, this was done down in Chile. It was actually a really cool experiment on Thompson grapes, and he was only able to use it for 14 days of irrigation. This was done 44 days before the harvest, and he saw on his test fields on a per hectare average of 1,640 kilograms more grapes on his test group um, than he saw in the past. So, 1 second here. Sorry, I'm getting a Sorry, I was getting a do not disturb there on my phone. Sorry about that. So we'll get to him in a little bit, but he saw an extra percent on bricks, but he really saw not only did he see an increase of 7% increase in yield in just 44 days using the Cumanacea plant booster. If you look here on the slide here, he improved how much he was able to sell his grapes for because the grapes were so much healthier and so much better looking, even larger. He was actually able to get $1.80 per kilogram using the Cumanacea plant booster versus only $1.46 per kilogram using his standard control method. So not only did he produce more, he actually sold it for more on the back end because the fruit itself looked better and was healthier. So he actually made an extra $11,316 per hectare, which is about 2.5 acres on his test group. So he was very, very happy. In fact, he's in the process right now of ordering for the rest of his farm. COVID kind of slowed things down for him a little bit, but he's going to be ordering that very soon. Another case study, we got a 30% increase in melons up in Washington State, and he got a 4 to 5% bricks increase. So basically, his melons were 4 to 5% sweeter on the average than he's ever seen before for those varieties. So he's very excited. Again, his customers are happy not just because he's producing more melons, but they're actually sweeter and they're a much better flavor than the standard control methods that he was using before. The next one was a regrowth. This was after 60 days of winter. We were doing a side-by-side comparison of the various versions of our technology to just confirm that the latest one that we're marketing now, that's version 6, is in fact the best. And of course, it did produce the best results. But the really cool thing about this was all these plants were left outside in the snow and the sleet and the cold weather in northern Italy over the winter. And then after 2 months of sitting there, almost dormant, almost dead, the control groups were totally dead, but they started to regrow their leaves again. Basically, they had enough energy to withstand the harsh winter in northern Italy. And the Tech 6, as you can see, came back fully after that 2 months of harsh weather. This next one here, we saw this is in Ecuadorian roses, 30 days after they're picked, and you see here in the picture they're regrowing their leaves and their branches. They're basically had enough energy left in the stem, even though they've been picked a month previous to this picture. They're still growing leaves and they're basically regenerating themselves, even though the flower and the rest of the stem is not connected to the plant anymore. It's still producing and coming back to life. The next one here we did back in 2017. This was done on some soil tests in Washington State, and we saw an increase in 47% in cation exchange. What happened here is we had an 18.3 measurement in the beginning of both control and test groups, but after 8 weeks of using our technology, his control plot went down to 13.3, indicating that there's less organic matter in the soil, and our test plot went up to 21.9. So you see an 8 point swing there in just 8 weeks. So the plant itself, we attribute that to the plant itself generating more energy and putting that back into the soil. We've done a test down in South Africa. This was done in 2018 on spinach, kale, and alfalfa, and you can just see the difference here in the picture more even than the 25% and 30% increase in overall yield by weight. You see how much greener and healthier and stronger and larger these plants are versus the control. Huge differences here, and they're right next to each other. Everything else kept exactly the same. in Mexico. This was last year. We did some experiments on wheat. And you see again the difference in how much greener and healthier the wheat plants look. This is triticale wheat in Mexico. And this wheat is being used to feed the second largest milk producer in Mexico. And they're really interested to see how much more protein and iron and overall nutritional content the feed crop has versus their control field. You can just see the difference there in the depth of green. Not only did he get a 25% or 30% projected increase in yield, but he got a much better, much healthier looking crop. We did experiments on turf and grass, and we saw after 14 days a huge difference in grass. I'm going to show you the picture here. See how this particular grower has a soccer field. He kept putting every quarter, he put $500 worth of fertilizer to try and get this grass greened up and looking healthy again. And it just kept staying brown, staying sparse, etc. But after only 2 weeks of using Kiminasi, of watering it with our technology, you see how much greener and healthier the grass looks. It's coming back, and he's actually booking a lot more appointments than he ever did before. And then down here in the public park, you see again huge differences in how much greener and healthier the plants look and the grass looks. We did another experiment on tangerine trees. And again, I'm kind of rolling through these guys kind of fast, but if you want all the case studies, definitely hit us up. We'd love to share them with you. Or have questions about any of them, we'd love to speak with you about it. But this particular farm has 4,500 hectares of various types of fruit, avocado, grapes, and other fruit. And this was on tangerine seedlings. They were about a month old when we started, but you can see the Kiminasi after a month of watering, 26 days actually of watering, how much healthier the leaves are. The leaves are much more developed. They're flowering. It's much healthier looking plant versus the control, which you see is kind of just slowly growing along its normal path. So we're definitely enhancing the growth rate of the tangerine trees there. The next one was done in peppers, and this is in Peru. We increased his harvest average of 16 peppers per plant during the summer to 30, and with 75 days, he's getting pretty much almost double, a little bit less than double the production on his peppers. Another one, this again was in Peru. This was on grapes, and this was a cool study because he tried this on one of his hectares that wasn't doing very well, or a couple of his hectares that weren't doing very well. In fact, 5 hectares, sorry. But what he noticed was he got not only did he get 30% more grapes on that field versus the last year, but comparing it to his normal production of 21 to 24 tons per hectare, he was getting 38 tons projected, which will be about a 58% increase in the overall yield there. So he's really excited. The next one was done. This was done on one of the largest farms in Peru, who I'm not going to mention their name here just because they've asked us not to, but basically this is one of the largest farm companies in Peru. And we did an experiment on asparagus, and you can see here on the chart, every single day they were harvesting the Kiminasi pretty much outperformed. It's 1 or 2 days maybe that they got less, but every single day as they were harvesting this asparagus, the Kiminasi fields was producing more asparagus. And on the bottom, the totals you see after 23 days of harvest, 6,285 kilograms versus only 4,217 kilograms. That's about a 49% increase in overall yield in about 6 months. And the next case study on cherries was done. You see the initial pictures here. This particular grower had been trying to grow cherry trees down in South America for over 3 years, despite all of his efforts and the efforts of his science team. They just couldn't get the trees to really take off and really start growing. So he decided to try our Kiminasi plant booster on that particular field. And some of the results you see here on the top, you see a difference in the improvement in root structure. And you saw down here below how much more well developed the plants are, how much more leaves they are, how these trees are actually growing versus the control doing what it always did. It's about a 50% increase in overall growth rate and root development on his cherries with the Kiminasi plant booster. And here you see kind of an evolution over 3 months, 4 months, where you started off with just kind of sticks and then you have an improvement overall. And then by March of this year, you see how much more difference. You're actually getting a full tree in only 3 months with the Kiminasi versus the control. Really, what you have is a trunk with a few branches. It's not a full tree yet. So much better results overall there. On other trees or his lemon trees looked than his control field. And you can see the pictures down below on the right, how much greener and thicker and denser the canopies are versus down here. They're not looking as healthy. So he dug up some of the trees to see what the root structure looked like, and he was seeing huge differences in how thick and voluminous the root structure was. He also noticed, the agronomist on this farm noticed that he had a less incidence of pests compared to the control field. In fact, it dropped from 16% pest incidence down to only 11% in just 12 weeks. So in a few months, he saw basically a 30% reduction in an overall pest incidence on the Cuminasi plant booster field versus his control field. This one we just got literally last week. This was a California citrus grower, and he was testing this on citrus. I think they were Valencias. I'm not sure. Valencias or navels is what he typically grows, but he saw a huge difference. He only watered this for about 6 weeks, and he was seeing huge differences. These plants started pretty much equal to his neighbors. His neighbors' trees, as you see here on the left, um, are 2-year-old trees. So these are after 2 years. This is what his neighbor's trees are looking like. And you see size comparison against the truck. It's not even coming up to the door handle, um, but it's growing at its normal rate. His neighbor's trees are. But his trees, after watering for only 6 weeks, have really taken off, have really sprouted. And you can see just by the comparison against the truck here, some of the branches are all the way up to the top of the window. And his trees are only 1 year old. So with our technology and 6 weeks of watering, he's got trees that are taller at 1 year than his neighbors are at 2 years, and a very similar environment and everything else. So he's seeing huge differences in his citrus, and we're seeing this in other areas as well. The same grower also has a nursery for dragon fruit plants, and he's actually really excited because he's a nursery for dragon fruit. He sells them into retail chains, gardening chains, and that kind of stuff. He's selling these pots, and the cool thing about this is he's noticing that the seedlings for with Kiminasi are rooting in only 12 days. Versus his standard dragon fruit plants, which take 16 to 21 days to just start rooting. And then the plants themselves are ready for sale in 2.5 to 3 weeks versus 5 to 6 weeks for his untreated plants. So he's basically telling us that he's seeing germination speeds of 100% faster with Kiminasi Plant Booster over his control. And he was actually asking me, he's in California, by the way, he's asking me in Florida to contact Home Depot to find out if they're selling dragon fruit and if they're interested, because he needs to find new markets now because he has the potential to grow twice as many plants in the same period of time, and he's going to need to find new markets in other regions in order to keep up with that extra growth. So he's going to be making a ton more money this year. Another grower in California. This guy, Alvarez Farms, he does plums and other types of tree fruit, and he's seen amazing differences. He's producing really good sized plums with less fertilizer. In fact, the bricks of his fruit, he reported, typically it averages between 15 and 17. But with ours, he's seen measurements of 17 to 21, so it's much sweeter than in the past. He's had really good plums. He sent us some, and we tried some. But he's also using only one application of nitrate fertilizer and pesticides, whereas normally he would have to do 3 or more to get a nice good crop. And that same grower has a friar plum, which is a little bit darker plum, and the standard practice on tree fruit in a lot of cases is to thin. They call it thinning. And what they do is early in the season, they kind of cut out a lot of the fruit off the trees because they want the fruit that they're going to sell to be able to grow bigger. And a tree, if it has lots of fruits on it, those individual fruits are not going to be very large, right? So the tree only has so much energy to put into all the fruit. So if you have more plums, then the plums are going to end up being smaller on the average, and they don't want that. They want it to get to a nice good size. He's noticed, and he just sent us a video. We're going to have to get with him on this, but he sent us a video that basically explains that he's getting really good size without thinning, or with much less thinning on some of his trees that he didn't thin as much as he normally would. And he's excited because he's going to get the same size that he always gets, but he's going to get a lot more production. He's going to be a lot more of those plums with a lot less thinning than he's going to have to use. So he's excited for next year to see how much of an improvement he's going to be able to get by reducing how much he's thinning his crop. And one of the last ones here, this was done in Peru, on ajipanca peppers. This particular farm has 80 hectares, which is about 120 acres. And was doing a trial on 2.5 hectares. You see the difference in the fields here, huge difference in the germination percentage, how much faster and thicker and full the Kiminasi field was. And the field actually, if you look at this video here, if you go to this video down here, you'll see the farmer walking from one field to the next. This next field, the control field, was literally across a bridge, maybe 20 feet away. And you see the huge difference. Same environment, same fertilizer, same water, everything else the same, except that the Kiminasi plants are all growing. They're all doing well. They're filling in the spaces, and the control field is just has lots of bare spots, etc. Now, when we actually did the harvest a few months after that picture was taken, you see the huge difference in the actual crop itself. The control is a lot thinner, they're not as heavy. The Kiminasi plants are coming in at 33 to 37 grams per pepper versus 25 to 17, about 22, 21, 22 on the average. Um, so when you look at it by weight, he was getting more peppers per plant, but he's also getting 97% more crop production by weight on his Kiminasi peppers. So how do we make farmers more money? Well, just doing a quick comparison here, this is on grapes. Um, when you look at per acre, we're able to go from 98 to 10.5. The improvement in revenue per acre increased by almost 1,000. Input cost was pretty much the same, but because he was able to sell this product for more money, he made a lot more profit. In fact, this is an older one. This says 783. We actually got an update on this. I'll have to adjust this slide, but the new total is actually $4,000 more per acre. Because when we looked at the 180 versus 146, he's actually makes somewhere around 11,886 instead of 8,226. So we have to update that amount. But even on the low end at 783, I mean, for something that costs a nominal cost is not that much. But on other crops, you see we have even much better than even the grapes were. On spinach and kale, we got 22.25. On tomatoes, we've seen 15.91. On turf and sod, we've seen over 1,000. On peppers, as we showed you before, we got over $10,000. In cherries, we've seen improvements in about $4,000. Now, all of this is per acre, guys. This is not a 100-acre farm, and that's the total amount of money he's making more with Kiminasi. If we're talking every single acre that farm has, he's making $4,000, $10,000, $1,000, $2,000 per acre, and that's after we've already factored in the Kiminasi costs. So these farmers are making a lot more money, and really for us, the sales process is all about trust. We want the farmers to trust us. We want the dealers to trust the farmer, the farmer to trust the dealer, and the dealers will trust us. So it's really more about trust and building those relationships than it is about making a lot of money. But just some elements of the tech you should be aware of. It's a new technology. It can't be reverse engineered. It's very easy to install. There's no external power required. It's adaptable to any farm that irrigates. It's very low in cost, 175 per acre per year. It's a 2-year product, so it lasts quite a while, and it's very easy to sell. Now, the cool thing about this is it's very easy to sell because technology always works. It never fails. We have a risk-free money-back guarantee for the farmer. We have a 10X program available to the farmer, which allows him to try it with no upfront costs, as long as he's willing to document his results and agree to the purchase at the end, which of course our technology always works. And we also have payment options, so it's a very easy process for the farmer. And the last thing, which I like I think is most important, is we have a humanitarian fund. So we donate 10% of our total profits, our total sales actually, to humanitarian projects. So we want to support our communities. We want to support people and help them with things like education, drug rehabilitation and prevention, crime reduction, anything we can do to help our communities, we want to help. And we're donating 10% of all of our sales revenue to those betterment funds. So questions, and I'd like to hear any questions you might have. So what I want to do is invite you guys to definitely call us and or email us. You can email service@harvestharmonics.com. You can call us at that number, 727-324-6750. And lastly, I'm going to explain to you the different types of programs we have. So um, we have two different roles for most people that are interested in working with us. The first is called the broker role, which the broker's job is to help us find dealers and people that are already selling various products to farmers, like equipment sales guys, tractor sales guys, fertilizer sales guys, um, pesticide sales guys, seed salesmen, anybody that's basically already doing business with farmers, we want to work with because we know that these people already have the trust of the farmer, and we want our product to be disseminated and sold by people that the farmers trust because we want the farmers to trust us. So the authorized dealers are the people who are in the industry and they're already working with farmers, and we want to talk to them about working as a dealer for us. The broker position is the people that help us find those particular guys, and there's override commissions available to the brokers. And you get several dealers on board, you can definitely make a really good living. So whether you want to be a broker or a dealer, or if you happen to be a farmer and you have your own crops and you want to try this yourself, definitely give us a call or email us at this information. We would love to work with you. And God, guys, I really want to thank you for the time. If you have any questions, give us a call. If you're ready to step up and start working with us, either as a farmer or as a dealer or as a broker, definitely let us know and we'll walk you through the process. Thanks a lot, guys, and you guys have a great and blessed